Did you know that every year over 400 aircraft are scrapped and sold for parts? From 2009 to 2029, it's estimated that over 12,000 aircraft will be scrapped, bringing in $2 billion every single year. It's a really sad topic to talk about because even the newest of today, like the 787 and A350, will be the oldest of tomorrow. In 20 to 30 years time, it'll be the 787 and the A350's turn to be scrapped, and at the end of the day, that's life. Because of course it's not practical for an airline to keep every single aircraft they've ever owned in service. That's just not practical. But it's still a very sad topic to talk about, and especially when we're referring to the more sentimental and iconic aircraft like the 747. Joe Sutter, the original designer of the 747, died in 2016. And I think he took the 747 with him. He was alive to see the 747-8 Intercontinental be put into service. But sadly, that's going to be the very last 747 variant. There's been some amazing variants of the 747, from the original 747-100 and 200 variants, to the tiny SP, to the more unsuccessful 300 variant, and my personal favourite, which is the 747-400. The 747-400 first flew in 1988, and since then over 1,500 747-400s have rolled off the production line until the last one in 2009. In the last video we visited both London Heathrow and Cardiff International Airport to visit a lot of the retired 747s from BA's fleet, and today we're going to be continuing that journey. Just 5 minutes up the road from Cardiff is a little town called St Athan. St Athan is also the home to MOD St Athan, which was opened in 1936. It's been both an army base and as well an air force base up until 2010, when the ties with the military were cut. Usually ex-RAF bases either turn it into a commercial airport or form into a dwindling, pathetic little airstrip. And with Cardiff International Airport literally 5 minutes up the road, I don't think St Athan would have become a commercial airport. Luckily for St Athan, it now serves a different purpose, and it didn't become a dwindling little airstrip. And that purpose will sadly become clear as we get closer and closer to St Athan. St Athan is now used as a scrapyard. Most of the aircraft that land here never take off again. And this is one of the locations that both British Airways and Virgin Atlantic will be scrapping their 747s. One of the British Airways 747s that was here when I was there is Golf Charlie Indigo Victor Mike. This is a 23-year-old 747, and it was built in 1997. Its current state, apart from the word sad, is deteriorated. The aircraft's wings have been taken off, and certain parts of the aircraft have also been removed. Next to Victor Mike was a British Airways 777-200. Sadly, British Airways have just announced that they are going to be starting to slowly retire the 777-200, and so far 4 are out of service. You have Golf Yankee Mike, Golf Zulu 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 Yankee, and Golf Zulu 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 Echo. Both Zulu Delta and Zulu Echo were both part of British Airways' fleet until 2002, when they joined other airlines. And Mike was sadly involved in a crash at London Heathrow Airport. It crashed while on short final in 2008, and then it was broken up in 2009. Then finally we're left with Golf Zulu 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 Yankee. This aircraft's status is currently scrapped, and as the 777-200 at St Athan had lost all signs of its registration, I assume that this is this aircraft. And then next to the 2 British Airways aircraft, we also have a Gulf Air A330-200. This is also sadly being scrapped. Round the other side of the airport, we also have aircraft that are currently waiting to be scrapped. The one that of course stood out was this Virgin Atlantic 747-400. This aircraft is registered Golf Victor Alpha Sierra Tango, and it was delivered to Virgin Atlantic in 1997. All Virgin Atlantic aircraft have a name, and this one was named Ladybird. Not all the aircraft here at St Athan are being scrapped. A lot of them are being stored here over the coronavirus period, like this A320. This A320 is registered Echo Romeo Alpha X-Ray Victor, and it was delivered to Ansett, Australia in 1996 before moving to Air Moldova in 2003. Scrapping an aircraft, however, isn't as straightforward as it may seem. A lot of the components that make up an aircraft are actually reused and recycled, and this is done in a particular way. When the aircraft first arrives at the scrapyard, the first thing is it's stripped of any parts that can be used on other aircraft. This will include the engines, the seats, the landing gear, and the windows, and they can be used on other aircraft. They'll be inspected and cleaned to see if they are fit to go on another aircraft, and then they will be put onto other aircraft. After that's done, the aircraft is then broken down into various materials like glass, aluminum and steel. Like I said at the start of this video, over 400 aircraft are scrapped every year. But it's estimated by 2030 that over 2,000 aircraft will be scrapped each year. That's an increase of over 150%. And because of the environmental pressure to reuse a lot of materials, scrapyards are always looking at ways to recycle more and more of the aircraft. Currently, the average percentage of an aircraft that can be recycled is 80 to 85%, and that's a 12% jump in the last decade. A lot of the materials, however, can't be used back into aviation. The 747, for example, is made from aluminum, while the newer A350 is made from a carbon fibre reinforced polymer. This is currently lighter than aluminum, but it's a little bit pricey at the moment. As it becomes more mainstream, the price will of course come down. And so a lot of the aluminum and steel that's taken off of aircraft like the 747 is actually used in industrial purposes rather than put back into aviation. But leaving St Athan now, I then crossed back over the Severn Bridge and back into England, and I had one last stop. That would be in the Cotswolds, and that is Kemble Airport. Kemble Airport was built in 1936, and just like most British airports at the time, it shortly became an RAF base. It was used by the Royal Air Force up until the Cold War, when it was then used by the US Air Force and was a primary base for their A-10s, F-5s, F-15s, C-130s and KC-135s. After the Cold War ended, it was then passed back to the MOD, when it was then a base for the Red Arrows up until 1983. Nowadays, however, it's used as a general aviation airport as well as another scrapyard. When I visited, there were actually 10 747-400s and one 747-200. One British Airways 747 was located right next to the road. This was Golf Charlie Indigo Victor November. This is a 22-year-old 747-400 that was delivered to British Airways in 1997. Next to that, there was also an A340-300 that was registered Echo Charlie Mike Foxtrot Alpha. This first flew for Singapore Airlines in 1998 before ending up in the hands of Plus Ultra in 2014. Located just behind Victor November was an old MK Cargo 747-200. This aircraft was registered Golf Mike Kilo Golf Alpha, and it's a 41-year-old 747-200 and was first delivered to Cargo Lux in 1979, before then passing through various American cargo airlines such as FedEx and Atlas Air, before eventually landing in the hands of the British in 2001 with MK Cargo. Behind these, however, there was a long line of various 747-400s. In this line was a KLM 747, 3 Saudi Arabian 747s, a Corsair 747, and then off in the distance there was another 2 Corsair 747s. These will all be scrapped in the future along with some other aircraft that they have here. There were also some Jet 2 757s, some 727s, some 737s, and an A330. Going around to the other side of the airport, you could actually get a better view of the British Airways 747s that were there. These two are registered Golf Charlie Indigo Victor Juliet and Golf Charlie Indigo Victor Lima. These are both 23 years old. Kemble Airport is in a really interesting location. It's basically in the middle of the countryside, and if you didn't know there was an airport there, you probably thought you just stumbled across 2 British Airways 747s in the middle of a field. And Kemble was my final location. To recap, we've been to London Heathrow, Cardiff, St Athan and Kemble. Some of the 747s were in great condition, some not so much. It's really sad to see these aircraft go, but at the end of the day, we can cherish the memories we have with them. We can be glad and say that we were one of the last generations to see the 747 in regular passenger service. And I still do understand that still a few airlines do still operate the 747, but that will be ending pretty soon. Just like when I went to Bournemouth, I will be posting a lot of my pictures that I took at London Heathrow, Cardiff, St Athan and Kemble. I'll be posting all of them on my Instagram, so if you don't follow me, you can follow me at aviation18_IAD. It'll be on here if I got that wrong. But yeah, I'll be posting a lot of those pictures on there, and yeah, And so yeah, that does conclude my trip to see all of the last remaining British Airways 747s. Although the 747 is now retired, I really want to do more of this kind of video. I want to do maybe spotting vlogs or something like that in this kind of style. So tell me what you think of that, and apart from that, I want to thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.